It started like any ordinary Tuesday, coffee brewing, emails loading, my dog snoring under the kitchen table. Peaceful until I heard a knock at the door. Not frantic, not casual, just official. I opened it to find two men standing there. Khaki pants, polo shirts, lanyards with plastic badges that read, Simmons Valley Compliance Division. One held a clipboard, the other a digital camera. Both wore sunglasses like they'd practiced this pose in a mirror. "Good morning," clipboard guy said. "We are with the HOA inspection team. Just a quick property audit." "Property audit?" I asked. There wasn't any notice. "Emergency review," the other one chimed in. "Routine, nothing to worry about. We just need access to your backyard." That was my first red flag. Because real HOA notices come in writing, taped to your door, mailed, emailed, and never as a surprise visit. I looked at their badges again. No seal, no license number. Just the HOA name, printed on what looked like laminated cardstock from a home office printer. "You got any paperwork?" I asked. Clipboard guy smiled. "We're just here to take a few photos and make sure everything's in line. Shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. I gave a slow nod, hand tightening on the doorframe. "Let me make a quick call," I said. He raised a brow. "To who?" I smiled. "My brother." And what they didn't know. My brother works for the FBI. As I stepped inside to make a call, I left the door cracked just enough to watch what these two clowns did next. They didn't wait. Camera guy stepped off the porch and walked toward the side gate, without permission, snapping photos as he went. He wasn't aiming at the house either. He was photographing my security cameras. Clipboard guy stayed near the door, peering through the front window like he was casing the place. Not a single word, not a single note on his clipboard. Yeah, this wasn't HOA. This was something else. I pulled out my phone and dialed the one person who could smell a fake ID from across state lines. My brother, Agent Cole Walker, FBI Organized Crime Division. He answered on the first ring. "What's up?" "Got two guys here saying they're from the HOA. Fake badges. No paperwork. Trying to get into the backyard." Silence. Then, "Don't let them inside. Get plates. Don't confront yet." I peeked through the blinds. Clipboard guy was now checking the lock on my gate. "They're snooping," I said. "Good. Let 'em. I'm calling someone local." As I hung up, camera guy turned and saw me watching. He gave me a quick nod. Forced smile. I smiled back, but only with my eyes. Because what he didn't know was, the second I stepped outside again, I wasn't just a homeowner. I was bait, and they just triggered the trap. I stepped back outside slowly. Phone recording, camera aimed low, voice calm. "Everything okay out here?" Clipboard guy jumped slightly, then quickly smiled. "Yep, just making sure your fence line isn't over the setback limit." "Can we access your backyard?" I shook my head. "Not without a warrant. Or at the very least, a letter of authorization from the HOA board." Camera guy spoke up. "We don't need that. Section 12C of your HOA agreement allows perimeter inspections." I crossed my arms. "Really? That section hasn't existed since the 2019 revision. And unless you're code enforcement, I don't think you're authorized to do anything but walk the sidewalk." He froze. Clipboard guy quickly pivoted. "Sir, we're just trying to help protect property values. No need to get legal." That was it. I pointed to my porch camera. "This house is under 24/7 video surveillance. You've entered private property without consent. You're being recorded. If you don't leave immediately, I'll consider this trespassing." That cracked them. Clipboard guy stammered something about getting the board on the phone. Camera guy stopped recording and slid his camera into his bag a little too quickly. That's when I noticed a second phone, tucked in his back pocket, screen still lit, facing outward like it was recording discreetly. They weren't just snooping. They were collecting footage, possibly for someone else. And just then, like it was scripted, I saw it. A dark gray Nissan Altima across the street. Tinted windows. Engine running. No movement inside. A third party. A lookout. I didn't flinch. I just walked back to the porch, waved toward the car like I was saying goodbye to a friend, then texted my brother one word. Live. I walked calmly back into the house, shut the door, and locked it, not because I was scared, but because I knew what was coming next. I pulled out my phone and dialed Cole again. "They're still here," I said. "They just tried to film around a back, gave a fake HOA code, and I spotted a third guy sitting in a car across the street." His voice sharpened instantly. "What kind of car?" "Dark gray Altima. Tinted. Plates 4NV. He cut me off. "I've got it. That's one of the vehicles flagged in an ongoing investigation. These guys aren't just frauds. They're part of an interstate scam ring we've been tracking." I blinked. "What kind of scam?" "HOA impersonators. They pose as inspectors to scout properties, then pass the footage to shell companies who file fake liens or prep for asset grabs. Some escalate to break-ins." My stomach dropped for a second, but I didn't let it show. "All right," I said. "What do I do?" Cole was already moving. "I've got 2 agents en route from the local field office. They'll be there in under 15. Do not engage. Keep filming. Stay inside." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Already rolling," I said, turning the camera toward the driveway where the 2 fake inspectors were now pacing nervously, looking like they knew the curtain was about to drop. I opened my front window, just enough to slide my phone out and prop it on the sill. One of them pointed at it. The other muttered something and reached for his phone. And that's when I smiled. Because the moment they called someone, the FBI started listening. 10 minutes later, I got the text. "Magnifying glass tilted left. You're going to want to sit down for this. Cole never says that unless something's about to blow wide open." He called immediately after. "Both guys at your door are using fake names. The one with the camera, real name is Mason Elridge. Rap sheet includes wire fraud, impersonation, and conspiracy to commit property seizure in 2 states. He's on federal probation." My eyes narrowed. "And the other, Philip Granger, used to run door-to-door compliance audits, fined by the FTC for operating an unlicensed HOA enforcement service. That clipboard of his is more dangerous than most crowbars." I glanced back outside. The 2 of them were huddled, whispering now, their earlier confidence starting to fade like sunburnt vinyl. "And the guy in the car?" I asked. "That's the wild card," Cole replied. "We think he's the handler. Possibly ex-private security, no known employment record, but registered the Altima under a fake address linked to a defunct shell company." He paused. "They're targeting you for one of 2 reasons. Either someone paid them, or they think you're worth flipping." I laughed. "Well, they're half right. I'm worth something, but I don't flip." Cole chuckled. "Agents are 3 minutes out. Stay visible, but don't escalate. Let them make the mistake." So I did. I grabbed my drink, walked back out onto the porch, and sat down in my chair like it was just another day in the neighborhood. I even waved at the guys. They didn't wave back this time, because what they didn't know is that their entire little act had just gone from neighborhood bluff to federal case file. I figured if the FBI was 2 minutes out, I had time for one question, just enough rope to let them hang themselves. I walked off the porch slowly, phone still rolling in my hand, and approached the 2 imposters near the sidewalk. Clipboard guy, Granger, straightened up fast. Camera guy, Elridge, shifted his stance and palmed something in his back pocket. "Gentlemen," I said casually, "just so we're clear, what did you say your names were again?" Granger cleared his throat. Philip. Simmons Valley Enforcement Division." Elridge, the other said flatly, "just documenting perimeter violations." "Standard procedure. Perimeter violations, huh?" I said. "Which clause are you referencing in the Simmons Valley Charter?" They blinked, hesitated. I stepped a little closer, holding up my phone. "You see, I've been through every page of that charter. Twice. There is no perimeter audit clause, no emergency visual inspection rule, and no record of either of your names in any HOA filing." They started backing up a little. Then I added, "And before you say a word about legal authority, my brother works for the FBI, and you've been on a live call with him for the last 20 minutes. That's when Elridge cracked. "Look, man, we're not trying to cause problems, all right? We were hired to document some issues, fencing, structures, code stuff. Nothing criminal, except impersonating inspectors," I said, "and trespassing. Oh, and conspiracy to defraud homeowners." Granger's phone buzzed. He glanced down, and that's when it happened. 2 black SUVs rolled up quietly from opposite ends of the street. Doors opened. FBI agent stepped out. Badges already up. Elridge muttered, "Ah, hell." Granger dropped the clipboard. I stepped back onto my lawn, arms crossed, and nodded toward the driveway. "You boys might want to sit down," I said. "You're about to be inspected for real." The scene changed instantly. No more fake smiles. No more made-up coats. Just 4 federal agents, tactical and calm, walking straight up the driveway like they'd rehearsed it 100 times, which, knowing my brother's team, they probably had. Agent number 1 approached Granger. "Name and ID, sir." Granger looked like a fish gasping for air. He fumbled for his wallet, then remembered he didn't have real credentials. Agent number 2 turned to Elridge. "Keep your hands where we can see them. You're being detained for questioning under suspicion of federal fraud and impersonation of an enforcement officer." Elridge didn't even try to run. He sat down right there on the curb like he already knew the script. And then came the car. The dark gray Altima down the street. Gone. Or so he thought. Because agent number 3 keyed his radio and said, "Runner's mobile. Tag confirmed. Local PD's on him. He's boxed in 2 blocks out." Cole himself stepped out of the second SUV, calm as ever, wearing his signature black jacket and that trademark sideways smirk that only appears when justice is about to land. He looked at me, gave a nod. "Told you not to engage." "I didn't," I said. "I just conversed." Cole looked down at the clipboard still lying in the grass. He picked it up, flipped through it, then raised an eyebrow. No inspection sheets. No forms. Just printed Google Maps of 4 properties in this neighborhood. "Yours is marked with a red X." "Subtle," I said. He turned to the agents. "Get this logged, scanned, and sent ops. We're connecting this with the Denver and Phoenix cases. Same playbook. Different state." Granger and Elridge were cuffed, read their rights, and quietly loaded into separate vehicles. No fight, no noise, just the look of 2 guys who realized they'd picked the absolute worst front yard to lie in. I walked back up the porch, sat down, and finally sipped my coffee. Still warm. Cole joined me, leaning against the railing. "Nice garden," he said. "Thanks. HOA tried to fine me for it last month." He laughed. "Guess they'll think twice now." After the arrest, I figured things would calm down. But if there's one thing I've learned from my brother, it's this. Scammers don't act alone. They anchor themselves to systems. Weak ones, greedy ones, or both. So I went looking. I started with the HOA's official document, specifically their enforcement contracts. Public record if you know where to look. And wouldn't you know it, Simmons Valley HOA had recently signed a consulting partnership with a third-party entity named Civic Pro Solutions, LLC. No phone number. No real website, just a single page that said, "Compliance support for modern communities." The listed business address. A UPS store in a strip mall 2 towns over. I traced the LLC through a business license lookup site and hit a familiar name. Karen Whitmore, HOA president. And the woman who'd spent the last year tightening rules, raising fines, and conveniently outsourcing enforcement to this mystery firm. The same firm tied to Elridge and Granger. And guess what else? They'd been billing the HOA, my neighbors, hundreds of dollars per property audit, most of which never actually happened. Fake reports, staged photos, and threats of fines were sent to residents who never even saw an inspector. It wasn't enforcement. It was extortion with a logo. I forwarded the documents straight to Cole. Within the hour, he replied with one sentence. "Get ready. This goes deeper than HOA." And just like that, my little front yard sting operation had become part of a federal fraud investigation. Not because I went looking for trouble, but because they brought it to my door, and I answered with evidence. By Monday morning, the neighborhood group chat was lit up like a Christmas tree in July. Everyone was talking about the fake inspectors, the FBI cars, the handcuffs, the fact that my house had somehow become the epicenter of something way bigger than anyone realized. So, of course, Karen Whitmore had to respond. She didn't knock. She didn't call. She sent a mass email to all residents titled, "Important clarification regarding recent inspection incident." Here's what it said, word for word. "Dear residents, it has come to our attention that certain individuals misrepresented themselves as part of an HOA-authorized compliance program. The HOA had no prior knowledge of these individuals or their actions. We take this matter very seriously. Any claims linking Simmons Valley HOA to these individuals or any third-party enforcement are unfounded and not reflective of our mission to maintain neighborhood harmony. Sincerely, HOA President Karen Whitmore. I read it twice, then laughed, because Karen had personally signed the Civic Pro contract 2 months earlier. I had the digital PDF, time-stamped, with her e-signature. Worse, her name was listed as the primary contact on 3 separate invoices paid by HOA funds. And then came the cherry on top. In one of the board meeting transcripts, yes, I pulled those too, she'd actually said, "With Civic Pro's help, we can enforce more efficiently without the bureaucracy. No need to bog down the board with every inspection." That transcript, printed, highlighted, hand-delivered to my brother, the agents on the case, and the HOA's own remaining board members. Let's just say, Karen's important clarification didn't age well. The story exploded faster than a 4th of July lawn sprinkler. By Wednesday morning, our quiet little HOA mess had become front-page news. Local station headlines read, "Newspaper, FBI shuts down fake HOA inspection ring. Homeowner's brother helps crack case." Newspaper neighborhood watch turns into federal sting operation. They even ran footage, courtesy of my porch cam, of Elridge trying to explain HOA code to me while sweating bullets. They blurred my address but not my voice, especially the line that made it into every news segment. "You're being recorded, and my brother works for the FBI." Instant classic. By noon, I had 3 reporters on my front lawn, 2 HOA members at my door with baked goods and apologies, and someone from the state's HOA oversight office asking for copies of my documentation. I gave them everything. The emails, the fake inspection notices, the fake LLC's business registry, the contract signed by Karen. They didn't even blink. Because this wasn't an isolated incident. Turns out Civic Pro Solutions LLC had been flagged in 2 other counties for unlawful enforcement activity. They just hadn't had anyone expose them so publicly until now. The reporter asked me if I felt like a hero. I told her no. I'm just a homeowner who asked one question. Who gave you the right to walk on my land? By Friday, Karen's empire of clipboards and passive-aggressive memos was crumbling faster than a budget fence in a windstorm. The state's HOA Oversight Division officially launched an inquiry into Simmons Valley's finances, voting records, and external contracts. And the very next morning, a subpoena showed up and delivered to Karen's door. Neighbors watched from their porches as she opened it, skimmed the top line, and slammed the door so hard her wind chimes fell off the hook. One kid down the street whispered, "She's done for," like he was narrating a true crime special. But that wasn't even the best part. During the HOA's emergency board meeting, Karen tried to claim she was duped by Civic Pro and had no idea the inspectors were operating illegally. Then someone, God bless whoever it was, stood up, cleared their throat, and read her own meeting minutes aloud. "We don't need the board involved in every inspection. With Civic Pro, we can act more quickly and discreetly." The room went silent. Then came the vote. Unanimous. Karen Whitmore was officially removed as HOA president, effective immediately. She left the meeting red-faced, holding a half-empty binder, and avoided eye contact with every single person who once feared her. Her last words before stepping out: "This neighborhood doesn't understand order." And someone in the back muttered, "No, we just don't tolerate fraud." The week after Karen's removal felt like someone had flipped a switch. Lawn chairs came back out. Porch lights stayed on longer. Neighbors I'd only waved at in passing now stopped to chat. Because for the first time in years, people didn't feel like they were being watched. They felt like they were being heard. The HOA board voted to suspend all third-party contracts indefinitely. They launched a full audit of every fine issued under Civic Pro. Refunds were already being processed. Some homeowners even cried. Asterisk, asterisk, literal tears. Asterisk, asterisk, when they got letters saying their liens were being dropped. And me? I didn't run for HOA president. I didn't need to. Instead, I worked with Cole and a few board members to create something better. A community oversight committee, independent, resident-run, with zero clipboard authority and full transparency. And at the first town meeting, someone asked me what I'd do if anything like this ever happened again. I smiled and said, Simple. I'll call my brother, but I'll also call you. Because when a neighborhood sticks together, no scam survives. That earned a standing ovation. The cherry on top, a neighbor made me a custom doormat that now sits proudly at my front door. Stop sign smile for the camera. My brother's in the FBI. And next to it, a broken clipboard nailed to a plaque in the garden that reads, "In loving memory of Karen's last attempt." Because the truth is, some people build fences. Some people build fear. But me, I just built proof and watched the whole house of lies collapse.